Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining the Startup Societies Foundation podcast. Today, we are joined by Annie Mayo, COO and President of the Foundation for Puerto Rico. Annie, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
So we're really excited to have you on. But first things first, can you give our listeners an overview of what the Foundation for Puerto Rico does and what's its intention?
Of course. So, Foundation for Puerto Rico is an organization started, not for profit, that was started in 2011. It's a not for profit focused on economic development in Puerto Rico. A lot of us in Puerto Rico looked at what was occurring back in 2011 with regards to the downturn of the economic situation of the island. So the organization was created really to be a key thinking knowledge and catalyst to bring the most innovative strategies to economic development of Puerto Rico. So the foundation has been working a lot on research on economic development strategies, but not just on developing the strategies, but also having the impact on testing the strategies, doing pilots, developing, incubating ideas, working with all the key stakeholders in Puerto Rico, both the private sector, the not-for-profit sector, and the government sector, to really work on economic development strategies that are going to help the island move forward, and for the next 20 years.
What are some of the more exciting initiatives that your foundation is currently participating in?
So the foundation is working before Maria and after Maria in very exciting initiatives tied to what we call the visitors economy. So, worldwide, we used to be called what it was tourism, but really, back in United Kingdom, in Australia, they really take a look at what that visitors impact is in the economy. And so in Puerto Rico, we did a lot of research with the foundation and looking at what is the actual real impact of a visitor coming to Puerto Rico. And it's not just a direct impact, but it's a direct, indirect, and induced impact to the economy. So we saw a great opportunity on an area sector of the economy that really was seen as a back sector and not really a mature sector. But it's really not a mature sector. It's a sector where you can really have a lot of innovation. So we're working on the visitors economy. But then post Maria, before Maria, we are really working on making Puerto Rico a destination to the world, showcasing Puerto Rico to the world. And now we are making sure that the destination is prepared to receive visitors. So we're working a lot with local entrepreneurs, local businesses, communities, and working on making sure our assets in our communities are not just being reconstructed, but are also being thought more innovative to be able to receive visitors all over the world, to live, to travel, to invest.
So on your website, you have a really cool graphic about the impact of the visitors economy, both direct contributions, indirect, and induced contributions. Can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Of course, correct. So, again, we went in and really did a deep dive research on what is it that the visitors economy, what does this mean? We looked at all markets around the world, and there's Puerto Rico receives about 3.5 million people a year of the visitors around the world, which is, it really is a 3 trillion, um, you know, monetized wise economy of the world. So we said, 3.5 million is not that bad. But really, when you look at the markets around us, not just the markets that are Caribbean, but also all the markets that have the nature assets that we have, that have the cultural assets, and we realized that just by scratching the surface and doing something that we call 2 times 2 is equal 7, it's just by increasing times two the amount of people that come to Puerto Rico and extending their stay to 2 more days. The average stay in Puerto Rico, it's about 3 to 4 days, where in many areas around the world, it's more to 5 to 7 days. So just by scratching the surface, we had the opportunity to double in our economy quickly. It's not a long term strategy, it'll take 2 or 3 years, but quickly start impacting on the GNP of the island. So that's, a very simple way of looking at it. This document, we worked this on our website. We have about 100 pages. We have a number of other documents. But really, we're focused on all the strategies to make sure we double the size of people that come to Puerto Rico, that double the night, and then extend their nights to 2 more nights, and that economic impact that it will have in our GNP.
Amazing. So yeah, so a great way to jumpstart the Puerto Rican economy. But as you know, a large piece of that is infrastructure. It seems that the Foundation for Puerto Rico does their fair share in the infrastructure space. And since you'll be speaking at the Startup Society Summit, and that's a vital aspect of it, I'm wondering if you could go into what the Foundation for Puerto Rico does for infrastructure on the island.
Yeah, so there's a number of elements around the visitor economy, and as you stated, infrastructure is a key component. We see infrastructure in various ways. There's the infrastructure, the name of infrastructure that is currently known, which includes roads, electricity, water, telecommunications. But there's also infrastructure that is tied to, obviously we know access and transportation, but there's infrastructure, social infrastructure, cultural infrastructure, all kinds of infrastructures that are non, not brick and mortars type of infrastructure. So we're working on all of them. We're working on, after Maria, we're working on something that's called the asset-based community development strategy. And what we do is we look at the current assets and we see what are their basic needs, what are the infrastructure, what do they have and don't have. For example, what are the things in infrastructure is going to help them be able to be resilient and be able to manage a disaster like occurred with Maria, but also be able to be more efficient as a business. So, we talk about, we've worked with businesses on education and implementing solar energy, on, the component of clean water, which includes not just filters on a business, but ways that they can get water from their actual rainforest type, from the rain, that they don't need the water. We're working on strategies of making microgrids. So in the microgrid component in each town where we're at, we're looking at a one potential microgrid that we can test and support financially, but also do partners with private sector. One thing Foundation does as an organization, I apologize to mention this, but we're really our vision is that we collaborate with experts. We don't want to become the experts of everything, but we work on strategies where we bring the key stakeholders to the table to our projects. So whether it's the experts, like we have a partnership with experts in the small business area. We have a partnership with experts in solar, in renewable energy, in water, like an organization called Oxfam with water, and and so those are key areas that we're working on. So we're working, in the current times, in it's a smaller scale project that when you take it, we expect to have an impact on about 50 communities around the island in the next 3 years that will really be able to have a larger impact to everything that needs to occur in Puerto Rico.
Amazing. You're doing a wide breadth of things. So have been some obstacles when you've been doing all these initiatives?
Well, one of the obstacles that always occurs in communities is really getting the buy-in from the stakeholders that are there. So it's not just getting the buy-in and working with the state government, the municipality government, but also with the community that's there and the culture and understanding how they need to vision themselves to the future of their community, how they can be a destination to the world. We work in communities in the mountains, in small communities that really they're seeing for the first time. They're seeing themselves for the first time in a different way. So the biggest challenge always is there at the beginning, working with them, having them understand what is the visitors economy, how it can create jobs and how it can create quick economic development in their communities. And we have been it's something we've been working for a while, but it's actually been a little easier post Maria because I think everybody's sort of more open to seeing what else they need to do in order to not just do, not to, their future is not about rebuilding the past. So there really are opportunities now and a lot more interest, but you always had at the beginning, making sure that people understood why this is important, how this can have a quick impact.
So what are some resources that you would need in order to expand your operations?
So we currently, we were very fortunate to have been working with very big national organizations and big national donors. And we were able to raise about $4 million as an organization post Maria. But when we're talking about having an impact in 50 communities, really our goal is to continue to raise funds for each one of these communities. We're working closely with the federal government, really, and to your point about challenges, is making them understand reconstruction as something different. Reconstruction of the disaster. That's not easy when you're talking about government. That's not easy when you're talking about, organizations that have like these bureaucratic processes and these policies that have been like 30 years old. So having them understand, how to spend the, $40 billion that are going to be sent to Puerto Rico in the next 3 years, how to spend it on the right way to really leverage. So those federal fundings, we're hoping to be able, the government's interested in us working in some of these projects, but we want to make sure that we don't depend on federal government as well. So we obviously are going to have, if an outreach out there to our very interested donors, partner with key private individuals and organizations. We've worked with high technology groups, individuals that are in the blockchain, that are working here in the economy in Puerto Rico. So all those components. So it really will take about $1 million per community. So as I mentioned, to 50 communities, we're talking about a work that's going to be done for the next 5 to 10 years for the goal about $50 million.
So when discussing communities and policies, have you, the Foundation for Puerto Rico discussed the importance of special economic zones? As part of the Startup Societies Foundation, a big part of our focus is special zones with different policies from the rest of the host nation. Has the Foundation for Puerto Rico considered it as a means of regenerating the Puerto Rican economy post-Maria?
Yes, definitely. That's one of the things that we have in our pillars is, policy advocacy and changes that need to occur in the policies and the laws in order to be able to really create the innovative economic development strategies that we're talking about. So one of the things that we're currently looking at is the different models around the world that have those types of enterprise zones, and how those enterprise zones have been efficient in communities that have very little resources, by the government. And so, looking at that, and also, and looking at how we leverage, you know, funding that's coming for disaster as well to create the base for those enterprise zones. So, for example, we're working with the Economic Development Administration out of Washington, D.C. We met with the national director and the regional director in Philadelphia, and they create different types of economic zones as well, and they fund the development and the planning of them. What that will mean for Puerto Rico, that's where it's exciting, where we want to, we are hopefully in the mix of being able to do that type of planning and that type of design with the EDA funding, being able to bring together all of the individuals, all of the experts, like the ones that your organization works with around the world, out of Asia, out of all these countries, to see, what has worked, how that has come about, because, we need to look at best practices around the world. So that's really what's going to be happening. We have a lot of work to do, but we definitely are going to be very strong advocating in changes of laws. We've done that in the past in other sectors where we've being able to successfully work with government and legislature to change laws. And so that's going to be continuing to be a key component. So enterprise zones is one of them, and how that would look here in Puerto Rico and where, that's yet to be seen, but we're definitely working on the planning stages of that.
That's amazing. And you'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about that and the other elements of the Foundation for Puerto Rico at the Startup Society Summit, which you'll be speaking at. Do you want to tell the audience why absolutely. So why is your organization excited to be involved in the Startup Society Summit?
Thank you. Yes, we're very excited and thankful that we were invited. One of the things that we've seen that is key to, again, to rebuilding Puerto Rico is, one, the great opportunities that are arising post Maria, the willingness to really think innovative, not just by the community, by business owners, but by the government. I think it's an opportunity to really change what needs to happen. Foundation for Puerto Rico is an organization that is, large, established, well-renowned economic development NGO here in Puerto Rico that really wants to be a leader, and obviously the vision and the support of organizations like yours that are really, cutting edge in these types of strategies of economic development, which is not just thinking about the usual manufacturing economic development that has occurred in Puerto Rico. We don't really support that. We want it to be about entrepreneurs, about innovation, about bringing great talent outside of the island to the island. So we're very excited about the people that you're going to be having at the summit, and not just as an organization, but the people that are going to be speaking there from their experiences of what needs to occur and the work you've already started doing for Puerto Rico. So I think this is a great opportunity to bring, the best talent into one location to talk about really innovative strategies that are going to reconstruct Puerto Rico to the future, not to the past.
Annie, I just want to say it's definitely a two-way street. We are incredibly honored to have you personally and the Foundation for Puerto Rico involved. You are a leader in the recovery effort in Puerto Rico. Everyone, thank you for joining us. That was Annie Mayol of the Foundation for Puerto Rico. Annie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.